Namaste, my dear brothers and sisters. The love and blessings of the Mother and Sri Aurobindo to all of you from Sri Aurobindo Ashram Delhi branch. It's my privilege to introduce today's speaker, Dr. Don Salmon. Don has been a pianist, composer in his 20s and 30s. And even then, he was using mindfulness in his work with dancers, actors, and musicians. By qualification, he's a clinical psychologist, and he has been bringing his expertise as a musician also into his work as a psychologist. And with his wife, Jan Maslow, he has written a book on the integral yoga psychology of Sri Aurobindo. What was most fascinating about him was that he saw in YES, I mean, not the YES project, but the abbreviation YES, something special. What it was special that he saw, I will not divulge because that is what the talk is about. But what I must say is that he's seeing something special in YES, something beyond just an abbreviation for yoga, education, and spirituality, was enough for the YES team to rejoice. So with that introduction, over to the speaker, Don Salmon.
Thank you very much, and great. I'm very happy that you invited me to be here, that I was able to say yes to your invitation. I see we have a lovely small audience here. I'm going to, because we're so small, I'm going to invite people, if you're willing. If you don't want to, that's fine. I may invite you a few times to open your camera and to speak. So again, it's up to you. But I'm going to try and adjust this for, oh, thank you very much. I'm going to try to adjust this for our small group here. When Dr. Pishlani invited me a month ago to come here, I have been giving a lot of talks over the last year, and I have been kind of pulling back. And so first I want to say, I'd like to think a lot about why do you come to these talks? Okay, so I think, let me ask first, is everyone, we have 3 other people, are you all 3 familiar with yoga and familiar with Mother and Sri Aurobindo? Yes? Everyone knows the yoga, intuitive yoga? Yes, good. So I can use their terminology, good. Okay, so, the Mother talks a great deal about sincerity. And although we may like to believe that we are here entirely for the sake of the divine and in a state of complete surrender, I think if we're honest, we'll find that we come to talks, our vital, our life energy may wish to be entertained. And if you know, and there's nothing wrong with that, and I hope that what I'm saying, you'll find some delight in it. And you may all know one of my favorite sayings of the Mother: take pleasure in everything you do, but don't do anything for the sake of pleasure. So it's wonderful if, as I tell you these things, that you're entertained, but we remember that entertainment also can be offered to the divine, not for that sake. Now, if you're a little bit like me, Lord help you, you may be here because you think you're going to learn something. In a few minutes, I'm going to tell you, in less than 2 minutes, I'm going to tell you everything you need to know to do the integral yoga through the entire triple transformation up to perfect supermentalization. Now, I could have told you this in 1976 when I first came across the yoga, and I can tell you, I must confess now, I am not fully supermentalized down to the cells of the body. So you may all want to leave now, but okay. So I'll tell you, if you're someone who likes to learn, it's wonderful. It's very good. I'll talk to you a little bit about what the Mother says in mental education. It's good to develop the mind. But learning, you could memorize all of their 50 or 60 volumes, and that will not necessarily move you an inch in yoga. So I hope you will learn something today, but learning is not enough too. So to move on to the theme of yes, I'll say the purpose of this talk is to inspire you to say yes to the possibility of your own contact with the inner silence. Many people think, I hear nowadays meditation teachers are saying, well, that's an old thing. No one really silenced the mind. You just kind of learn to step back. To say yes to the Shraddha, the faith you can silence your mind. To say yes, the faith you can contact the deepest, let me show you, the deepest aspiration in your heart. To say yes to all of that. Okay, with that, let me tell you a little bit about how I came up with this theme of this talk. So at the time Dr. Bijlani invited me about a month ago, I've been pulling back from giving talks. I wanted to make sure that when people come to talks, they're not just here for entertainment, not just for learning, but to really, it's an opportunity to give yourself to the divine 100%. So he told me about it, and I thought about it. And a few days ago, I thought, let me write to him, make sure I have this right. And he explained to me that, again, he reminded me, the idea of YES spirituality was simply, it's an abbreviation for yoga, education, spirituality. And you can't write all that in a URL for a website. So they abbreviated YES. And they were thinking for a while, if I have this correctly, in Hindi, it would be Ye spirituality, which means basically true spirituality. But I perhaps misread it. I thought he meant yes, in the sense of Shraddha, that you're saying yes to the deepest spirituality. So let me tell you a little bit about what psychologists and psychiatrists and neuroscientists have discovered about saying yes. It's going to seem a little superficial compared to yoga, but we're going to bring it from the ordinary surface science psychology into the yoga. So one of my heroes in the world of psychology is Dr. Dan Siegel. Dan Siegel is a former dancer and choreographer who became a doctor at the Harvard Medical School. And I'll just mention, remind me later if you want to hear more about this. Dr. Siegel has a program in thousands of schools around the world where children from as young as 5 years old are being taught how to contact, or at least have intimations of the psychic being. If you want any proof of the influence of the supramental force on the world in the last 50 years, the idea that children around the world are being inspired to go within, they call it the hub of the wheel of awareness, at the center of the hub, right? So he specializes in child psychiatry, so he does a lot of things with children. And do you remember when you all have good enough memories when you were 3 or 4, your parents spent a lot of time saying, no to you, don't do that, don't do that. So I'm going to invite you, if you don't want to do it, I'll try and act the part. But if you all, hopefully we don't have feedback. Anyone willing to unmute I want you to participate with me. If you could unmute, you don't have to show yourself. It would be nice if you did. Unmute your audio. We're going to all practice yes, no, and yes spirituality together. Okay, we have one person, 2. Can we get 3? Can we get 3? Unmute. No? Okay, that's fine. So you'll join me. Okay, Dr. Siegel does this before audiences around the world. All together, and you can do it in your own time. We're going to assert no. Ready? Okay, out loud. That's it. No.
No.
No. No.
No.
No.
No.
No. No.
No.
One more time. But really mean it. No.
No.
No. No.
No.
No. Yes. Okay, good. Now, notice how he makes you feel. You may feel a kind of powerful vital surge, but you get that kind of, this little energy stopping you, right? Okay, now we switch, and we're going to go, yes, 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 all together, yes,
Yes.
louder,
Yes.
Yes.
yes,
Yes.
yes,
Yes.
yes, yes, yes.
Yes.
And
Yes.
notice the difference. Notice there's more, just right now, there's more smiles. So we could have a vital yes, right? You can leave your audio on or off, doesn't matter. You can have a vital yes, like I'm excited, yes, right? Well, that's not what we're talking about. You can have a mental yes, well, I agree with that, yes. Or, now I promised you I would give you the entire yoga in a few minutes, so here we go. Are you ready? Be prepared. Now, think about this. The ultimate yes is Shraddha. What does Sri Aurobindo say of Shraddha? It's so beautiful. Even for the most ordinary person, it is the light of the yet unrisen sun. Is that not so beautiful? The light, capital L, the light of the yet unrisen sun. What is the sun? The sun of the soul, the sun of the supramental, the sun of the divine light. So what that means is in your worst moments, in your most superficial moments, your most absorbed in outer nonsense moments, if you have that faith, if you say yes to that, you have the capacity at this moment to at least touch that light. This to me is, if you want to learn something and take away something from this talk, don't take any moment lightly, because this very moment, which is now 6:11 in India, yes, at 11 minutes after 6, you have the possibility. We miss these moments. Mother talks so many times about don't take for granted. This may be the moment that light touches you. It could be. Now you're hearing the talk, and if you're looking to be entertained and learn, and you're passively receiving, you may not take this seriously. I'm going to say it again. I really mean it. I found this in my life many times. So I'm going to describe the integral yoga. And it needs faith. It needs that yes. So yes, to your capacity to step back from whatever is thinking, your sensations, your emotions, thoughts, to step back into the quiet, which is here now, right? How often do you meditate or get upset and think, I've got to make my mind quiet? You don't need to make your mind quiet. If you just step back and find that silence, it's here. Sri Aurobindo says, at the background of everything, he taught this to one of his disciples, Kapali Shastri. At the background of everything is this silence. It's here now. And when you say yes to that possibility, it's what I find, just stepping back a bit, the fire in the heart becomes stronger, more apparent. And again, don't just listen to the words I'm saying. Notice this. If you step back a little bit right now and listen to, right? Listen to the silence. You may notice the warmth in your heart beginning to intensify. And when you step back and get and have the faith to say yes to the possibility of the light of the yet unrisen sun, you have intimations not only of the psychic being, but of that vast silence overhead of the self. By the grace of the mother, of course. Yes. And when you step back, most of us like to say no to looking at all of our mental, vital, and physical nonsense. You know what I mean? We may be in the yoga for many years, but we don't. Do you spend? Recently, I've been spending more time in the evenings looking back over the day, and I still see the resistance to it. But when you stop and step back, and you open to that inner strength, you can see the mental, vital, physical nonsense. What Sri Aurobindo talks about are all of our beliefs and rigid opinions, our vital desires and cravings and fears, and the physical stupidities and inertia. You can say that and say yes to the utter simplicity of seeing all that from the inner silence and the inner aspiration and the touch of the light of the yet unrisen sun. I'm going to switch in a moment to invite you. I'm going to lead you a little bit more experientially through the whole yoga. I needed to prepare you now that you don't just take it as a bunch of words, but you're really, really saying yes to your capacity to hear this and let it touch you in a deep way. Okay, so let me sum up before we get to that. So we're saying, oh, I forgot one thing, one very important thing about from modern psychology. If you some part of you still has some doubts, disbelief about your capacity to do the yoga, let me tell you 2 more things marvelous things from the science of psychology. One thing about the importance of saying yes. There's a marriage therapist, John Gottman. He's been practicing for decades. He says, the power of no, of criticism, is so powerful. If you have a child or your parent or a friend or relationship, for every negative comment you make to that person, you need to make at least 5 to balance it out. Now we can translate that in yoga. For every comment that you have this, how many letters were disciples writing and saying, oh, Mother Sri Aurobindo, I can't do this yoga. I have lack of capacity. And Sri Aurobindo said, if the yoga depended on human capacity, no one would ever do it. It's not about you, it's about opening to the mother. She can do everything. So for every time you catch yourself saying, I try to meditate, I can't do it. I try to remember the mother during the day, I get absorbed in nonsense. You need to at least 5 times affirm, Mother, I can do nothing but with your grace, all can be done. I should say it 4 more times to be clear about that. So remember that in your ordinary relationships. The power of no and yes are so powerful. Power of no is so powerful, right? Okay. Why is no so powerful? Little explanation of how the vital works. In the course of our billions of years of evolution, we needed to be on the lookout for danger, right? If you're walking along saying, oh yes, it's all wonderful, you're going to be someone's lunch, right? That tiger is not going to say, oh, well, that's an integral yogi cat. I'm not going to bother them. Right? You'll be their lunch, right? Okay. If you still don't believe in the power of saying yes and belief, I'll tell you a wonderful, I love this experiment. In medical school, they went to the students and gave them 2 pills. One was a red pill. This is not The Matrix, for those of you who know the movie. They gave them a red pill, and they were told, this red pill is a stimulant. It's going to raise your blood pressure, raise your heartbeat, make your breathing more active, and you may even sweat. And the blue pill was a relaxant. It's going to lower your blood pressure, calm your heartbeat, get you very, very calm. And every student, they took physical measurements. And the ones that took the red pill, their heartbeat got stronger. They were, more energized, maybe almost hyper. And the blue pill were relaxed, lower blood pressure, lower heartbeat. Do you know what? They reversed them. The blue pill was the stimulant and the red pill was a relaxant, but because they believed it, their bodies responded the opposite way. So remember, every time you tell yourself, oh, I can't do this, whatever it is, but I'm not fit for the yoga, I can't quiet my mind, I'm hopeless. You are affecting your respiratory system, your nervous system, your gastrointestinal system, every system of your body, right? They've even discovered, they look at placebos, those pills that are fake pills, that people don't respond that well to ordinary white pills, but if you cut off the edges, they're stronger because people think, oh, that must be a special pill. If you give people colored pills, they're more powerful. Capsules with beads in them are even more powerful. And one doctor figured out he would get forceps and grab the pill and say, this pill is so powerful, if I touch it, it's going to hurt me, but it's designed for you. And those are really powerful. Okay. So if we know from ordinary science that doesn't know anything about yoga, that our minds and our beliefs, right, what we say yes to, what we say no to, can have such a powerful effect on our body. Think what you're doing to yourself when you're saying no to your capacity. Oh, maybe, Dr. Salmon, Dr. Bijlani, Sakshi, DM, whatever your name is, the rest of you, Amrita, I see your name, Rishikesh, they can do it, but I can't do it. Okay. You are affecting your whole body, your vital, your mind, you're creating more obstacles for the yoga. Okay. Now, in case you don't believe me yet, I'm going to guide you through the entire yoga. I'd like to ask you, when people hear a guided quote unquote meditation, they tend to close their eyes. And what you're doing when you do that, it's fine if you do, But in a way, you're also saying, no, I can't really do an integral yoga. I'm going to go in and put the world away. So I want you to say yes to the possibility that right now at 6:20, I'm going to make this very real. It's 6:20. You're there in India. It's 20 minutes after 6. Lovely that you're here on a Friday, taking your Friday evening to be here. You can sit there calmly with your eyes open and be inspired to tap into this utter simplicity of the light of the yet unrisen sun. So don't get a special position. Don't, I'm going to just as you are, right? And just take in these words. They're meant to describe what is real right now. Right now, right here. Just notice what's happening. There's sounds around you, right? That's part of the divine play. You don't need to be off in a special, this is the mantra mandir, it's right here, wherever you are. This is the Delhi ashram, this is the Puducherry ashram. This is it, right here, right where you're sitting. You may have special vibrations somewhere, but the mother is absolutely as present where you are as anywhere else. There are thoughts coming and going. Don't struggle. Just notice them. Allow them to be. Don't take any special interest. Don't be concerned. They come and go. Very easy. Absolutely simple. Emotions, instinctive reactions, negative emotions, positive emotions, impulses, they come and go, but they don't disturb the essence of who you are. You recognize that silence is here. You don't need to create it. The fire, the Agni, the fire of aspiration in your heart, it's been there for all eternity. You just may be noticing it, or it's there, it's here. As you remove your interest from the mind and the emotions, the vital impulses, that sense of deep stillness in you and around you may become stronger. Do you notice it? You can start to feel it. Whatever noises come and go is fine. But you can start to feel it almost as a substance of the air around you. You may notice as you open to whatever glimpse of that silence, you may notice also the warmth in your heart begins to intensify, a sense of peace and warmth. Thoughts are coming and going, don't need to fight. Emotions may be powerful, judgments, reactions, don't need to do them. Let the mother take care of that. Your only need is to open to that silence, open to the quiet, open to the spaciousness, open to the warmth of the fire. You may notice a sense of delight, even a tiny, if you don't let a judgment come and take you over. And finally, just for a moment, you may notice, and you can do this anytime, as you open, as you say yes to the possibility of opening to that silence, that quiet, that warmth, that delight, you begin to notice an intuition, an opening to guidance, an opening to the possibility that you don't need to make your conscious decisions every moment, that something that's present, something that you say yes to, is within you, above you, which is your yay spirituality, which is your true nature, the true spirituality, that when you have a problem to solve, you can just step back for a moment and a little mental intuition will come to you. When you're talking to a child who's upset or a friend in need, or a parent who's going through pain, a neighbor, a coworker, and you remember to say yes to that possibility, you'll get an intuition of what needs to be said. And if you're cooking, just cooking, you're getting the spices ready and you've got the ghee there and you're mixing the rice and the dal. And you're wondering, it sounds so trivial. Do I need to put this spice in? Does it need a little bit more cumin? And instead of trying to figure it out, you just sort of wait like, and your hand even pours the cumin, knowing what to do. Okay, so I almost don't want to say I'm ending the meditation because it sounds like something different. This can be every moment of your life. That brought to mind a few things. When I was doing psychological evaluations, I often had people who were in the worst shape of their life. They were applying for disability compensation, and they lost their home, they were in chronic pain, they maybe had been abused and been in horrible situations. And I found myself, when I was completely absorbed in their story, the right words would come out, in the right tone, the right expression. And I'd come back to my ordinary self later and realize something had taken over. And that's possible for all of you. I've played piano, I've played keyboards of some kind for over 60 years, since I was 4 years old. And I find many times in performance or just on my own, somehow the hands know where to go. And as I got over the years more and more into yoga, I realized, if you open to that, she's actually guiding your hands and telling you what to do, what to say. It's absolutely a miraculous way of living. It's magic. And to come back again and again to the main theme of this talk, that magic means getting past, it's so much about getting past the shraddha, the belief, the distorted belief that I can't do this. Well, Dr. Bijlani, he's an important person in the ashram, and he's been doing this for years and giving talks. He can do it, but who am I? That wonderful question, who am I? Right? Well, if we are practicing yay spirituality, true spirituality, who am I? I am the one who can do it. I'm the one who has the capacity, right? I'm gonna, we got about 15 minutes left. For all of my saying yes and rah, rah, rah and something, I think it'll be nice to teach you a technique. So I will actually give you something concrete. If this should be enough, but now I've given you the essence of integral yoga in 2 minutes. I know that Buddhism often gets a bad rap in integral yoga circles. Jen and I have been reading out loud Mother's commentaries on the Dhammapada, one of the great Buddhist texts. Do you know, it struck me just a couple of weeks ago. I'm introducing this, so any of you anti-Buddhists here will cut me some slack, as we say in America. Give me a break. It struck me, I've been familiar with their works for 46 years. It never occurred to me, Sri Aurobindo commented on the Vedas, the Upanishads, and the Gita. The only book, for all of the anti-Buddhist talk we hear in the integral yoga circles, the only book Mother ever, did this occur to you, Dr. Bijlani? It never occurred to me before. The only book she ever commented on was a Buddhist book, the Dhammapada. How marvelous. So I'm going to give you, in a couple of minutes, there's a wonderful, and Mother said the Buddhist disciplines are some of the most wonderful disciplines for the integral yoga, because they're very, contrary, well, we think if I just kind of lay back, I'll say just surrender and open. We tend to hear that a lot. Like, I don't need to really do yoga. I just sort of say I'm going to surrender and everything will happen. I agree with that. It's true. If you can 100% at this moment, and I'll tell you, if you can 100% with no reservations say yes, you will at this moment discover the soul, the self, the supramental, and be ready for 100% transformation. Okay. Since nobody, at least Mother Sri Aurobindo didn't, have the capacity to say 100% yes, right down to every one of the trillions of cells in the body, right? We may need more than a sort of a vital excitement to say, oh, I'll surrender and it's all done. So Mother praised the Buddhist disciplines. This is, I'm going to tell you very briefly, an overview. This is a path laid out over 1,000 years ago that, as the Tibetan Buddhists put it, a good student can acquire perfect mental silence in 3 days doing this practice. A mediocre student, it might take 3 weeks, and a really bad student would take about 3 months. Okay. So if we're at least bad students, you should be able to practice this and have perfect mental silence for the rest of your life within 3 months. You ready? Does that get your interest? Okay. First step, now this is with the breath. Okay. You do it right now. You don't need to don't close your eyes right now. Just be aware of the breath flowing naturally. Don't get in a special position. You can do it in any, because you want to be able to do this when you're eating lunch with friends, you want to do this all the time. So your breath is flowing. And all you need to do, you don't want to strain. This is the crucial thing. You don't want to strain or struggle, just like we don't strain to find the silence or strain to find the aspiration. There's a kind of attention, the brain works this way, that is a kind of attention that takes in quietly everything. And the breath is just a means of kind of grounding you so you can stay in that open attention. If you're struggling with something at work, you're struggling to learn an instrument, a sport, to do art, to listen to someone, everything. If you just remember to open your attention, don't exclusively concentrate on the breath, to use Sri Aurobindo's term. You want to have an open awareness and let the breath just sort of keep you focused so you don't get lost in thought. You practice this until you can do this for an hour at a time without getting lost. That's step one. There's only 3 steps. Step 2 is you let go of the breath. And now this is an exercise Sri Aurobindo gave many times. You now switch to the thoughts. You keep that open attention. Say yes to your capacity to be open to that quiet behind. Let the aspiration open to mother. Mother can support you in this. And you practice until for 1 hour, you can simply be present, aware of the thoughts, but in what Sri Aurobindo calls the quiet mind, without getting caught. No struggle, no control, letting them go by, right? So we're all together in that silence and that warmth and that peace of the heart. Now on the 3rd step, you switch from the breath, from the thoughts, to simply noticing the awareness. Mother gave this exercise. Said, can you find the consciousness, not your mind, not the vital kind, not the physical, but that pure consciousness? And you notice there is something that's aware of all, something taking in those effortlessly aware. Yes? And you say yes to that. And if you can do that for several hours, I can guarantee you what you'll find is that when you remember to widen and open your consciousness and say yes to your capacity, have the shraddha, you can open to the light of the yet unrisen sun, and you open to feeling that warmth, you will find, rather than struggling with your mind, you will find that the thoughts begin to sort of calm down of their own. And you find it's amazing. There is this silence, there is this quiet that's been here always. I remember this, and you'll say to yourself, I remember this from my childhood. I knew this before. Those days that you were looking out the window when it was raining and all was still around you, that same quiet, that same openness, that same substance of aliveness was there. It's here right now, looking through everyone's eyes. It's so amazing to realize how simple this is. And look at your mind. One of you is saying, yes, it may be simple for someone else, but not for me. I've been struggling for years. Okay, that's fine. Just don't believe it. The writer Annie Lamott says, my mind is a dangerous place. It's like a dangerous neighbor. I try not to go there alone. Right? So you bring the mother with you to help you, right? Let go of those thoughts, let go of those beliefs. If you struggle, you just add more noise to it. So this saying yes, this trust, this faith in the possibility is so beautiful. Okay, so let's see. A 45-minute talk, you've gotten the essence of integral yoga. You've got the entire Buddhist path to perfect silence. They call it samatha. It's perfect equanimity, actually. And when you have that equanimity, I have a few more minutes. I saw a profoundly brilliant, wise Tibetan Buddhist teacher, an American Tibetan Buddhist teacher, 25 years ago. And he said, you let go of the breath, just like let go of the mind, just release the thoughts. You find that silence and then you turn around. And as they ask in the Kena Upanishad, you say, who is it? What is it that is seeing? What is it behind all of this that's aware? If you just follow that with Mother's help, open to Mother's help, open to the light and the warmth and the love and delight of a yet unrisen sun, the whole thing is there. You can use a mantra to support you. There's nothing wrong with it. You can use the Mother Aurobindo name. You can use other mantras. You can use the breath. But don't get lost in techniques. Don't get lost in thinking you have to figure something out. I've read through most of the 60 or 70 volumes of Mother Aurobindo, so I can tell you, it's an absolutely wonderful sadhana. Mother said, read Savitri every day. If you can't do anything else, do that. That's wonderful. But those things are not the point, are not the ultimate means. It's all right here. This is, to me, the yes of yes spirituality, of yay spirituality, of yoga education spirituality, of yes. This is it. That silence is here. You can do yoga for 45 more lifetimes. It will be no more here then than it is now. The love and delight of your soul and the light, power, and wisdom of the divine presence of Mother's presence will be no more present 45 lifetimes from now than it is now. So if you go away from this talk, just remind yourself during the day, remind yourself this. Do you all feel, I mean, as I'm telling you this is the nice thing about giving talks, you really feel the power of this. Are you feeling right now how infinitely miraculous and magical it is to really, truly believe that they, Mother Aurobindo, the divine, that presence, your own soul, yourself, are 150% present right now. You can use the techniques that I've mentioned today. You go through that progress towards samatha. You can remember to every night, I strongly recommend this, every night to look back over your day. The Mother describes this in the 1950, 1951 questions and answers about page 30 or 40. If you don't know it, it's one of my favorite disciplines of the last 46 years. I don't always do it regularly, but when you do it, it's very powerful to look back over your day and see what are the mental, how are you saying no mentally, vitally, and physically to this yoga? And we all do it many times a day if we're sincere. And then you make an intention, you have an aspiration. Tomorrow, or this evening, it's now, what time is it? 6:38. Here, okay, we're trying to make this real. For the rest of the evening, how much, and when the talk ends, see yourself, take a moment and see yourself, whatever you're doing this evening, actually see yourself going through the evening, lying down to sleep, see yourself saying yes to this presence. See yourself saying yes to that capacity. Through LaGrasse Integral, Jan and I are in a class on the yoga of conscious sleep. You know, Mother Aurobindo talked about becoming conscious of your nights. You don't think you can do that. You don't remember your dreams? Say yes. As you lie down to sleep tonight, ask Mother, say, Mother, I believe I have the capacity, but with your help, I can become more conscious in my dreams, in my sleep tonight. And rather than interrupting your sadhana, as Mother says, if you're not conscious, you go into pretty deep subconscious realms. This becomes part of your sadhana. So you have opportunities every moment to say yes. At this moment right now, as you go about your evening, throughout your dreams, when you wake up tomorrow morning, remember, what are you going to say? Are you going to say no? You're going to say yes, but not just a vital yes, not a mental yes. You're going to get quiet and go within, and with all of your heart, life, body, mind, and soul, and spirit. You're going to embody yay spirituality, yoga education spirituality, yes spirituality, and the final words to say, I think it's true. I can tell you, as someone who has been in the intellectual circles of the yoga for many years and has written a book and articles and given talks and talked to many of the intellectuals around the world in the yoga. You don't need to learn all that. It's very simple. Hopefully you're not like me and maybe struggled for years with some thinking, well, maybe I just, if I learned the ontology and epistemology and got the philosophies, I could really, you don't need that. It's nice. It's a good discipline for the mind. Mother called it mental gymnastics. Gymnastics are fun, but you don't need that for the yoga. You have people like me and other people like me who've gone through this to tell you, you know what, it could have saved you 45 years. Very simple. So, yes to the silence. Yes to the inner warmth of the soul. Yes to your capacity. This moment and every moment for the rest of your life and all incarnations, you can more and more say yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm hoping, sure, yes, please. I say yes to your thank you. So Dr. Bijlani, I hope that wasn't entirely apart from the theme of your new endeavor.
Yes, indeed. I mean, I'll make some comments towards the end. And of course, before I make those comments, I must say that you've given great confidence to all of us that we can do it. But instead of me speaking a lot now, let's invite the audience to ask any questions if they have any.
Please do. Yes. I want to hear plenty of no's. Yes.
There are no questions in the chat, but
I have a question.
Yes, Sakshi has a question. Go ahead, Sakshi.
Okay. Hello, I'm Sakshi, and it was a really nice talk. I felt like I'm a little bit more in the moment. I had a busy day, so this felt really nice. And although what my question is that, so I'm a master's in clinical psychology, and I'm also a yoga teacher. So my question to the yes spirituality that you're talking about, saying yes, is that, like, there are some patients or there are some people who struggle with saying yes to everything, right? Like, and a lot. They're very towards the pessimistic side, and they're very defensive. The defenses are extremely strong. I just want you to, like, shed a little light on how would this apply to them, specifically those really extreme chronic cases of patients. So
yes. This is really, I'm so glad you asked this. I want to make a distinction before I address that directly. Everything I said today, I would never give this talk in an ordinary psychology, or even to most of my peers. They would be, horrified by this. So everything I'm saying, I'm assuming the capacity and the sincerity and aspiration of people coming to an integral yoga talk to be able to say this way. But let's say if you were asking Dr. Siegel, because he talks about yes, okay. So Dan Siegel would never say to the kind of patient that I've dealt with many hundreds of them, so I know exactly what you're talking about, would never say an easy, lighthearted, yes to everything. Okay. But what you make me think of, I worked in a number of psychiatric hospitals. At one point, I was in residence at Bellevue Hospital, and they had me work with people who are in there's a crime unit. I work with several people who are murderers. They were not yes people. I worked for several years with a intellectually disabled, used to be called retarded, but adults who had the mentality of 1, 2, 3, 4-year-olds. And if you ever have trouble with a 2-year-old having a tantrum, imagine a man who's 6'3", weighs 280 pounds, and he's having a tantrum of a 2-year-old, right? You can't just say yes, right? So one story comes to mind, and this is true across, I'll tell you two actually. And this is how you say yes to, it's not a mental yes, it's like kind of a vital soul yes. And you won't get this from most of your professors who will think that you're crazy if you talk about this. So in one case, I was working with a autistic woman. For people who don't know what that means, autism tends to have it very, very difficult relating to other people. They don't understand emotions. And she had an IQ of about 20, so she couldn't speak. And she had been coming to this day treatment center for about 4 months and never smiled and never related to anybody. And I said, well, what do you do? I've been invited there to consult. Well, we try and tell her, and we do this. I said, no. That's the superficial yes. You're trying to, you need to get inside of them. You need to get inside them. And there's no rule for this. So what I got, I'll say her name was Maria. So I looked at Maria for a minute. I just observed her and I saw she was terrified. She always looked angry but she was terrified. So I went to a room where she was. I'll see if I can act this out. And I just felt, what does she need? And I saw her and I said, oh, Maria, who's this man? Get away. And I ran away. And I did that a few times. And I saw her peek around, like, now she's interested. I'm connecting to her. I'm saying yes, I'm acknowledging where she's at. She's frightened. Like when I said to you all, I don't hear this much in Intellectual Yoga talks, but when I say to you, are some of you here, to be entertained? Are some of you here because you don't want to look? I could be much more challenging, you got to be careful with patients, but I'm trusting you're all sincere enough, I can do that. But I'm also want to meet you where you are. I don't want to just give a talk and you're inspired and you go away. I want to say, listen, here we are in this moment. Are you going to be sincere and really, this yoga is for real? Well, same thing with Maria, and we spent about a half hour together. And by the time we were done, we were running around playing tag and laughing. And people came in and said, I've never even seen her smile. I said, because you're not relating to her. You're not saying yes to who she is. I'll tell you one more. This is another really crucial example. There was a fellow, his nickname was Rocky. He had been born normal. His father had beat him and he then became brain damaged at age 2. When he came to us, he had been in another group home, where he'd been bullied and abused. When he came, my first day on the job, he was holding a 10-foot piece of wood with nails in it, threatening people. And I was called in to help, get him. Teachers were threatening to quit. The psychologist before me had tried for 6 months, nothing happened. So my approach was the same. I need to say yes to him. What does he need? Who is he? Right? So I tried for a while and I realized Rocky felt unseen, unheard, and uncared for. And I gave him a job. Every morning, there were people who were bussed in from all over New York City. And every morning, they all went to about 10 different classrooms. And Rocky would stand there and say, hello, how are you? Good day today. And within a few weeks, he became everyone's favorite. He stopped acting out because he was seen. His inner being was said yes to. Now, I can't give you a formula because every person's different, but you cannot fight people's defenses. You can't push them past their defenses. Find them, When there was a woman in a psychotic state, she said, I know you, you're my lawyer. Did I say to her, oh, I'm not a lawyer? I said, yes, I used to be a lawyer, but I've left that and now I'm a psychologist. And she said, oh, okay, that was fine. Right? My goodness, anyway, there's many stories like that, but basically you tune into where the person's at. And you may have to play act, you may make you uncomfortable. Oh, okay, one more quick one comes to mind. Okay, this is good for yes spirituality, even though it's about psychology, for all of you, but let me just say for everyone else. When you tune into mother, she can make you do things that seem very crazy. So there was a 17-year-old boy who couldn't speak. He had murdered someone because he didn't know what he was doing, but I won't go into that. But he loved music. He listened to gospel music all day. And I had a keyboard. So I went in and he couldn't speak. So I started playing and he started going, like he was happy. And so I started going, and he got happier. And for about a half hour, we're going, and he started behaving after that, you know. Now, did I learn in my second year of graduate study that this is what you do with, nonverbal people? No. You're tuning into the vital, tuning into the mind, and very definitely, by the way, so yoga comes in, you're going to be so frustrated with so many patients. That's where when you learn, when you learn to step back, it just takes a moment. Do this Buddhist discipline, do these exercises. You step back and open to that. I'm showing you almost what it feels like. You widen your consciousness. Mother Aurobindo taught this. Don't take this as something that, yogis do that. We all can do that. And then you open to the heart and intuitions start to come. You don't forget, I'm sure when Dr. Bijlani is prescribed, if he was prescribing a pill, he doesn't forget his medical knowledge. But maybe something says to him, this patient needs less of this, more of this, and it's not in the books. No one's going to tell you how to do it. That's when you become a really good psychologist, a really good doctor, a really good mom or dad or whatever. So that was a long answer, but I hope that makes some sense.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that was a really, really nice examples.
Any other questions, thoughts? Anyone want to say no? I'm open to that too. I like to argue. I can say no to a yes and yes to a no and whatever you like. So it looks like that may be it. So do you have anything to add, Dr. Bijlani? We have, in the chat, is there anything? Please. Okay, wait, just 1 second. Okay, let me read this from the chat. Great question. You're really asking me tough questions. I'm sorry, I'm going to say no to this. No, let's see. Explain further about the fact of identification. Yes. Okay, the ultimate aim of yoga, well, that's the ultimate aim of traditional yoga, but that's okay. Total permanent identification with the self. Wow, you're asking for several talks. Okay, I know how to answer. I'm going to say, I'm not going to be able to answer all of your questions together, but I'll give you a wonderful one. Jan and I heard a couple of years ago, and I still love this. It's a Buddhist thing, but I'll adapt it to integral yoga. This Buddhist teacher was once asked, what do we do to awaken? It kind of puts all your questions in one, how do we identify with the self? Is it a one-time event? And he said, well, awakening is not really something you do. And you may hear this from Mother Sri Aurobindo. You hear grace, and I'm suspecting you may be thinking, yes, I know it's a divine grace and I surrender, but what do I do, right? Okay. So the teacher said, awakening is like an accident. There's nothing you can do to make it happen, but you can make yourself accident prone. To tie that to the integral yoga, yes, you don't, if Marcelo, if by you mean this particular little mind-body personality, I guarantee you there is nothing, and it may take some years to get a sense of this. If you see this, you're halfway on the way. There's nothing, this little tiny little speck of thoughts, emotions, and instincts all tied together. It's not going to do anything. So in that sense, it seems like it's by grace. But because there is this light, I want to say it's really simple language. Let me not use Sri Aurobindo's words. Okay. There's something, even though this little bundle is not the real you, there is something of the real you here. So I don't make it too complicated. So what you can do, the most important thing you can do, you can make an effort to open to that silence. You can make an effort to tie into that warmth. Don't get your mind twisted up with all that, how does it happen? One-time event. Don't worry about all that. Just every moment you remember, open to the quiet, open to the aspiration, and more important, the mother says there's two essential parts of yoga. One is consecration. Everyone loves that part. One is consecration, surrender, open to the silence. That's all great. The other part people don't like so much is to become conscious of all the junk in the mental, vital, physical. So if you want to know something to do, you're not going to like, you're going to say no to this answer. You want something to do, really take seriously, look at your beliefs and the distorted ones, beliefs, prejudices, bias, rigid opinions, find someone whose political beliefs make you absolutely rabidly angry and try to empathize with it. That'll get you really far. I know everywhere now and around the world, it's not hard to find someone. If you dare, go on Facebook to a group that has beliefs the opposite of yours and don't do it for long, but do it for a minute or two and write a kind, empathetic comment. Boy, that would be a life value sadhana. Look at your reactive emotions, your irritation, anger. Oh, I'm an integral yogi. I don't get angry. Yes, you do. I'm an integral yogi. I'm not afraid of anything. Yes, you are. I'm an integral yogi. I never get depressed. Yes, you do. And you can find these any time of the day. Look at your laziness. Oh boy, he's going to really say no to me, isn't he? Look at your laziness. Look at your procrastination. Look at all that. This is for Sakshi also with your patients. You're going to be wanting to teach them to see these things, but you need to give them the strength to say, you need something, if they're, Hindi or Christian or whatever, a religious thing, if they're an atheist, their highest ideal. But when you have, this is for all of us, we need to look at all this darkness, all the no. We need to do it from a place of yes. In fact, that may be the ultimate answer, both for Sakshi and Marcelo. Do the yes part, establish yourself there, and have the strength and courage to look at all the no's in you. Then there's the whole yoga. There's the whole psychology, therapy, right? What do they say? What does it take to, how many psychologists does it take to change a patient? It only takes one, but he has to want to change, right? That's anyway. Yeah. Everyone has some desire in them. You wouldn't come to this talk if you didn't have a desire to change, to do yoga, to say yes. We all have many no's in us. When you find the place, I did it with Maria or Rocky, when you find the place of yes in someone, and you're metaphorically holding their hand, you give them the courage to laugh. Oh, look at that stupid thing I said. Isn't that funny? And even when they're not doing yoga, you have a privilege and responsibility as a counselor who knows yoga. In whatever language you find through the years, you'll find some way to connect them to the soul. You don't have to use that word, but you'll find some way to connect them to the truth of who they are. And the language doesn't matter. So for Marcelo again too, when you learn to say yes to that absorption, identification with whatever bit of the self you can be aware of, and you learn to see all the ways you say no of that, then it happens because of divine, then the grace comes in. Every time you do that, the grace comes in more and more. I hope that's worth a whole book, your questions, Marcel, but I hope that helped. Thank you again.
Thank you, Don. The confidence that you gave that, yes, you can do it, reminded me of a book by Julia Cameron, God is No Laughing Matter. In that, she has taken a dig at spiritual teachers and leaders who often give the impression, without necessarily saying so directly, that yes, they have arrived somewhere, but then that's because they put in so much work, they have made so much sacrifice, and those who are listening to them will not be able to do it because they're not capable of all that. And so God is no laughing matter. So she has taken a dig at them and tried to show, in fact, a bit like you, that no, it's not all that difficult. It can be simple. And sometimes these teachers and leaders make it unnecessarily complex. I'll just share with you a few thoughts that crossed my mind while you were speaking. One of them was that parents often have a habit of saying no. And this they do particularly to 2-year-olds when they are going through those terrible twos. You know, the child has tremendous amount of energy, but not enough of sense of self-preservation. And therefore, the child is getting into trouble and the child is running around a lot. The parents who don't have that much energy, and to keep the child safe, they have to keep running after the child and keep saying no, no, no. And based on that, there is a tale about uh, an Indian goddess, Parvati. Her other name is Uma. How did she get that name, Uma? When she was a 2-year-old, her mother would often do the same which parents generally do to keep the child from getting into trouble. Uh, and in Sanskrit, as you know, uh, one of the words that we use for no is ma, like ma vidushavahai. Let's have no conflict. So for no, we use the word ma. So, and just to address the child, she would say, oh. So she say, oh ma, oh ma, oh ma. That's how she will tell the child to not do something. And the child, instead of interpreting it as something that she should not be doing, thought that her name was Uma. And so that's how she got the name Uma. That's one of her names.
Wonderful.
Then, you talked about the breath flowing and the thoughts and becoming aware, and at the same time not be focused on the technique, which was again very important, because sometimes people focus so much on the technique that they try to sit in a very rigid posture and think that they should be doing it exactly the way they are being told. And if they are not, they sometimes say that I can't meditate. Can you tell me exactly what is to be done? So in fact, they ask for that type of precise instructions. Whereas the essence of it, as you said, is that in fact, just let it be. And instead of struggling with thoughts, or instead of struggling with the mind, or struggling even with the body, in fact, starts with the body. And that's how, meditation often starts with sitting in a particular posture. That posture, maintain it, be erect, but not tense. That is important, because as Sri Aurobindo has said, that what the whole exercise is about curing our restlessness. There's a restlessness of the mind, and there's also a restlessness of the body. And we start with first trying to make the body overcome that restlessness. And that is what, in fact, the entire uh, process of meditation, and to some extent, even all the other asanas is about. Because, as Patanjali has also said, that you should reach a state of prayatna shaithilya, that is absence of effort, relaxation, total relaxation of effort. And that happens, I have seen while doing those practices, is firstly, don't be obsessed with that I should be able to copy the posture exactly as the teacher is doing it, or as it is in a book, in a diagram. Do it as per your capacity. And after getting there, you can achieve a little further relaxation and total effortlessness if one tries to connect to the divine. And that can be done in so many ways. One of them is to marvel at the fact that the movement itself took place. That itself is a marvel. And when you realize that what a wonderful machine we are, and how for decades we can go on performing all those movements, which is the result of so many parts of the body working like an orchestra, where you start feeling that, yes, I don't have to look for the divine anywhere else. And you feel connected, and you find that suddenly there is that lack of effort. You just maintain the posture, and you are in fact connected with something else, and you're not thinking of the body. And in the same can be done with the mind. You are not thinking of the mind, and you're just looking at not the mind, but what is behind the mind. Then, another thing I think which crossed my mind was that one of the things that makes people tense while making these efforts in yoga is that they're obsessed with the goal. They want to get somewhere, they want to arrive somewhere, and they are in a hurry. Instead, what is important is to realize that the whole process is direction oriented. It's not a goal to be reached, but we are moving in a certain direction. However, what the goal is, we may keep getting glimpses of it. But then it is very natural, because of the way we are constituted, that having got that glimpse, we can't stay there. We slide down. We slide down to the ordinary mental consciousness. But that is something, because that is the way we are constituted. And we have to accept that. And if we accept that and not get tense about the goal, it's more likely that actually we will get to the goal, but we don't have to be obsessed with it. In fact, getting obsessed with the goal only outdistances us from the goal rather than take it any closer to it. So I generally distinguish between the goal and the purpose of life. I say that the goal may be a remote theoretical point for most of us, but the purpose is something that all of us can realize. The purpose is only direction oriented. It is not destination oriented. So
I love, go ahead.
yes, please go ahead.
I love your distinction between the goal. This really also speaks to Marcella's question too. One of my teachers gave a lovely example that all of us are in a stream, a divine stream of evolution. We can try to swim against it, but it'll never happen. All that saying no is like swimming against the stream. We can let ourselves flow in it, or we can swim along with it. So in a way, if you let go of the idea of a goal, you now have a means at any moment to check, am I swimming against the stream? Am I just letting myself being carried? Or am I swimming along? So there is still something to orient yourself. And what does it mean? I love that. So am I fixated? Am I going to get to the self? Am I going to surrender to the divine? Let go of the goal. But let me check. Am I making myself surrender prone? Am I opening my mind? Am I having the courage to look at all my defenses? Am I opening to the heart? And then your distinction of the goal and the direction gives you a direction for every moment of your life. I love that. It's wonderful.
Thank you. So the important thing is the direction and not the destination. And in integral yoga, since we bring spirituality into worldly life, we continue to engage with the world, but we are not really looking for a goal. Our main concern is that how our engagement is getting altered over the course of time, not necessarily outside, but how it is happening inside. So it's more of inner work than outer work. It may not be visible to others, but we start realizing that while continuing to do the same type of work, how we are engaging in it without getting entangled, without getting with sort of how we are organizing our daily life. And as we get closer, one of the sort of joys is that it gets organized more and more around a higher level of consciousness. So we are moving in a certain direction, which we can perceive in spite of being engaged in everyday work, the work which is not necessarily different from what anybody else does or what we were doing earlier. But now it is organized around a different level of consciousness, which affects the attitude with which we do it, the joy that we get from it, the lack of concern about the outcome that we have, and in spite of that, the work continuing to be done in a better way, so we can put our heart and soul into it without insisting on a certain outcome or without evaluating the outcome. So those are the type of changes that we experience, and in fact that frees us, liberates us from so many stresses and strains associated with everyday life. So that is the joy which encourages us to just continue on the path, and so long as we are on the path and we feel that now our life is getting organized better, which means that around a higher level of consciousness, we can leave the rest to the divine. As the mother said, you don't have to do anything, I'll do it for you. That doesn't mean we don't have to put in an effort, but what it means is that we don't have to be obsessed with the outcome of the effort. We don't have to be attached to the outcome of the effort. We don't have to insist on a particular outcome. That is what it means.
Yes,
and
beautiful.
While
Thank you.
there is a power of yes, there is also a power of no, but then that was that shows that the answer depends upon the type of students you have. So you were in fact following the second principle of teaching of Sri Aurobindo, that the mind should be consulted for its own growth. So
That's right.
you assumed that the audience that you have is of a type that will benefit from yes, but then there is a power of no, or one should be able to say no when necessary. Otherwise, sometimes you can be crazy. You can't keep saying yes to everything and to everybody, which is not neither desirable nor possible, because you can't say no to two opposite points of view. You can't say yes to everything that you are asked to do, because I don't know whether it happens all over the world, but at least India, it does happen that anyone who can do anything reasonably well ends up doing everything, because he's expected to do more and more, and ultimately he reaches a breaking point where he finds that I have to say no to something. I
Yes,
can't
we
do
have that
everything.
here too. Yes,
So,
that's everywhere. I
so that is another situation. That's one of the situations where, in fact, psychologists tell us learn to say no.
Yes, that's
So
absolutely correct. No,
yes.
no.
But at the same time, the context determines the answer. And the mother also said quite often that she might have given different answers to similar questions just because the person who was asking the question was different. That one finds in the mother's
That's-
answers also. So the answer depends a lot on the audience, and you assume that this audience is that of seekers who are on the path of yoga, on the spiritual path, and therefore it was a very valid type of valid sort of message that you gave, that don't get discouraged, don't be diffident, you can do it, just say yes. Of course, you may add to it that, mother, with your grace, I know I can do it, but be positive and say yes. And if one had to put the other way, that for this audience, the message would be learn to say no to no.
Right, right. You know, you could take
Just say
the
yes.
famous 3 terms of Sri Aurobindo: aspiration, rejection, surrender. Aspiration is saying yes to the mother, to the grace. Rejection is saying no to the qualities of the lower nature, and put them together, you have surrender. So there you have the whole thing. Yes,
Yes, that actually sums it up beautifully.
yes, there you go. That's it. I could have given my talk in 20 seconds. Well, thank you. I think it's your time now. Past time, actually. Thank you so much for taking this time on your Friday evenings. If you have any questions, I'll send some notes. If you want to pass them out, Dr. Berslani, I'll send some little summary. I'll send them to you by email. And if you want to give them to
Sure.
people, you can have them. Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. All right.
Thank
Have a
you. And in
wonderful
fact, what you
evening.
said towards the end can be taken as the last word. In fact, it was what you promised, that you can give the entire yoga in a few seconds.
That's it.
Yes to
Oh,
aspiration, no to
aspiration.
rejection,
Yes.
and that leads to surrender.
There you go. That's it.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Thank you, and hope to have you again in one of these yes sessions.
Thank you. I'm going to say no for a while, but perhaps yes sometime next year. I learned from you to say no. So yes, later on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.